Welcome everyone to the college football playoff preview show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Today we're going to look at the Notre Dame Fighting Irish as they will battle the Georgia Bulldogs in the Sugar Bowl. The Georgia Bulldogs are favored by 2.5 points. And if you want to bet this game on the best sports book out there, make sure you go to BetMGM, which you can click on the link in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. All right, guys, Notre Dame versus Georgia. Georgia will be going with a backup quarterback. They had to finish the game with him to beat Texas in overtime in the SEC championship game, while Notre Dame is coming off a convincing 27-17 win over the Indiana Hoosiers, which was really probably more of a 27-3 game. The only concern there to me would be this: outside of that 98-yard run early in the game, Notre Dame's offense struggled against Indiana's defense for the most part. We'll look at that in a little bit. This is a game that is basically a toss-up. Like I said, Georgia's favored by 2.5 points. It would probably be more than that if you had Carson Beck there. But this is a game that I think is going to be a slugfest in the trenches. And the Fighting Irish have a huge task here in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia. Georgia has a little bit extra time to prepare for the Fighting Irish as it integrates its backup quarterback, Gunnar Stockton, into the role of starting quarterback. Carson Beck will miss the Sugar Bowl with an elbow injury, but the Bulldogs still remain a small favorite. Now, when we look at this game, I think starting quarterback is going to be huge for both teams. Notre Dame's Riley Leonard is a true dual threat quarterback, which Georgia's had trouble with. It will be tasked with giving issues to this Georgia defense. The Duke transfer ran for 30 yards through the air on a 72% completion percentage in the first round victory against Indiana. Will Georgia provide different look for the Notre Dame offense that forced Leonard to be more aggressive? Now, on Georgia, you got Gunnar Stockton. The Georgia backup stepped in for Carson Beck in the second half of the SEC championship game and guided the Bulldogs to a win, completing 12 of 16 passes for 71 yards. Now, he has limited playing experience, but Stockton navigated the Georgia offense with a run-first mindset. Can he do it with the same extra preparations against Notre Dame? And he's probably going to have to do more than just go 12 for 16 for 71 yards for Georgia to win this game. I think this game is going to be a rock fight between two physical defenses and offenses that are buoyed by efficiency over big plays. The Fighting Irish were able to shut down Indiana. The team won't enjoy the size advantage in the trenches against the Bulldogs that it had against the Hoosiers. Now, the Bulldogs will be the best defensive line that Notre Dame has seen this season. I think it's worth noting that Georgia has struggled to contain mobile quarterbacks all season, namely Jalen Milroe, 116 yards, Jackson Darts, 50 yards, Haynes King, 110 yards, and Riley Leonard fits a similar mold and is someone who is capable of taking over games with his legs. However, the Fighting Irish will be going up against a Bulldog defense that is, seen Mike Denbrock's offense before back in LSU 2022 SEC championship game. They held him to 47 yards rushing in a 50-30 victory. The Fighting Irish struggled to move the ball against Indiana outside of that 98-yard run by Love, which I talked about earlier. The Irish averaged only 4 yards per snap. Of course, that game script was favorable. And I believe the Bulldogs could use the extra week to acclimate Stockton in the role of QB1. The team could craft a game plan to contest the Notre Dame defense that has faced a limited group of offenses to date. Now, Notre Dame's schedule has not been overly rough this year, which, can be an understatement even, because we've heard people talk about the issues teams have had all year long because the schedule they played was not that difficult. But that being said, Notre Dame did beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M earlier in the year. The Indiana Hoosiers offense was considered one of the top offenses in college football until they ran into Notre Dame's defense. I think this is a game that's decided by Love. And by Love, I believe the running back for Notre Dame, Love, is going to have a huge game here. He'll get 120 yards. It may take 30 carries, but I think him and the legs of Riley Leonard will be the difference in this game. We don't know what Gunnar Stockton's going to do in a game of this magnitude. This is even bigger than the SEC championship game. Let's face it, Georgia, even with a loss, would have been in. This is a one-and-done situation for a quarterback that was shocked that he got the SEC championship game. It's a little bit different when you know a week or 2 weeks in advance you're the guy. There's a lot more pressure here on Gunnar Stockton. Everybody expects Georgia to win. They're the SEC powerhouse here. Georgia is left, Texas is left. That's it. You got Georgia versus Notre Dame. You've got the whole world watching. This is the biggest game these two teams have played against each other since the 1981 Sugar Bowl, which was won by Georgia 21-10. I think the script is flipped here. I think Notre Dame beats Georgia 21-16. I think they win this game with Leonard's feet and with Love's feet. This is a rock fight, as I said, that will be decided in the final 5 to 10 minutes, but it's going to be decided in the last 5-10 minutes. I'm going to go with Riley Leonard over Gunnar Stockton, who's a backup. And I'm not a huge Riley Leonard fan, but I think this is a Notre Dame team that is fully capable of going deep in this tournament. I think they're capable of going to a national championship game. Whether they can win it or not, I don't know. Not real sure on that because Riley Leonard to me is a drawback. But when you look at the draw for both of these teams after this game, they're going to get Penn State or Boise State. Probably Penn State. Now, if you get Penn State, they're another rock throwing team that wants to run the ball, play defense. So the lower bracket here, or the lower side of the bracket, has basically three physical smash mouth football teams. And really, Boise State probably the same way because you got Ashton Gente, who's the top running back in college football. The northern bracket, as I'll call it, just because they're the ones on the top, that's a little bit different. That's where you got the Texas, you got Arizona State, you got Ohio State, you got Oregon, you got four teams there that can score some points, like to throw the ball around. This side of the bracket, this is a rock fight. And in this rock fight, I'm taking Notre Dame. At the very least, I'm going to take Notre Dame in 2.5 points, but I like Notre Dame on the money line. You got good odds there. Let's take the Irish. I think the Irish beat Georgia 21-16 to advance to the college football semifinal. Make sure you check out all of our other preview shows for the college football playoff games. Just got done doing Boise State, Penn State. You can find those on The Grueling Truth. Make sure you go to YouTube, like, subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell notification so you know every time we are live. Also, follow me on X at Grueling Truth. But for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.